Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so we are continuing on with the Extreme Super Battle Road guides, and the next one is going to be the Shadow Dragon Saga. So this one, very much like the Fusion category, is much smaller than a lot of the others, does not have as many crazy top tier choices. There are a lot of good picks, but you're kind of limited to you know, there's like a specific team that if you have access to every unit in the game, I would imagine your teams are going to look very similar to everybody else that has access to these units. And if you're missing sort of even one of the better units, you kind of have to use a sub who is probably subpar compared to all the other ones. So if we take a look at the leaders, obviously we have the good old school physical Omega Shenron. He is the one that the stage provides to you for free as a friend. He is probably the worst choice for the lead, mainly for global players, because, you know, he shares the same name with the STR Omega, who is so much better for Super Battle Road. So you probably don't want to be using this guy as the leader, but he's going to be a lot of people's best option, because if you didn't summon for Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, who obviously hasn't returned on global yet, he does have the highest leader skill. The Oceana Shenron is actually a really good substitute, even though she only has a 120% leader skill, because by using her you're then able to actually use the STR Omega Shenron, and having him on the team is actually so much of a benefit that it probably outweighs like having the slightly lower leader skill by using her. But even if you're not going to use her as a leader, you definitely want to bring her on the team if you have her. She raises defense on super attack, she seals the enemy's super attack, she gives herself ki, so she's pretty self-sufficient. Obviously pretty much everyone on this team has the GT link, so it's not going to be difficult for her to super attack at all. And then she can launch an additional super, as well as getting some attack and defense buff when the target enemy is attack or defense down, which a lot of units on this team do. So why she works so well with the STR Omega, because he lowers the enemy's attack literally just by being on the rotation. So she's going to get off that secondary super, she's going to seal them with the first one, and then she has attacks effective against all types and a high chance to stun when the enemy is sealed. So that second super attack is going to go off and potentially stun the enemy whilst also doing some extra damage. So she's really, really good. Like I said, I would bring her on the team even if you're not using her as the leader. And so then, of course, the big boy himself, if you did summon for Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and you got him, he definitely is the best leader, because he has the same leader skill as physical Omega Shenron, but I mean, he's like 100 times better than him, and this way you'll be able to use STR Omega Shenron. So I think probably the best way to go about this stage is to bring him as your leader, bring him as a friend if you can find one, bring STR Omega, bring Oceanus, and then you're already off to such a great start. This guy can be paired up with any of the LR Super Saiyan 4s or Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, even though he's not the best pick. Because whilst he doesn't have Saiyan Raw, he's very strong, and like the LR Super Saiyan 4s ideally want to be in slot 2 or 3, because you want to super attack with them first to raise their defense, whereas Gogeta, because he gets that massive attack and defense at the start, and for 8 turns gets the extra buff as well, he's actually very capable in slot 1, even though he raises defense on super as well, so he's technically better in slot 2 and 3 as well. But he can really hold his own even in slot 1. And of course, we all know with Super Battle Road, very often you get like 4 or 5 attacks stacked up in slot 1, so the likelihood that one of them is going to be a super attack is fairly high, and Gogeta does have the 50% chance to counter. And of course, his active skill is going to be very easy to get, because like I said, 4 or 5 attacks in slot 1, if that happens on turn 1, boom, that's his active skill requirement met. Turn 3, you can use his active skill, massively nerf everybody's attack, which helps out everyone else on the rotation as well, and gives him a huge buff. So he's gonna, at that point, even though it's turn 3, like he's just gonna straight up destroy somebody. So he is a must run for this category stage if you have him. So moving on, of course, like I said, we do have both of the LR Super Saiyan 4s. Now, both of them have aged fairly well. I do have both of them at full level 10 links, and they definitely can still perform very well in these kind of modes. In the normal Super Battle Road stages, and even in the Mono STR ESBR, Vegeta, after getting his 18 key super, can tank normal attacks like really, really well. So They both can tank really good after super attacking. You just have to be very careful that you get their super attacks off first. They are not very good for being in slot 1, especially Vegeta. Goku does raise defense on his 12 key as well, so it can be a little bit easier for him. Vegeta, you do need to get the 18 key to raise defense, and you really want to be getting that for him to be able to tank. But they do get a ton of extra key from Rainbow Orbs and Type Orbs. It's actually super easy to get their 18 key super, even if you can just pick up a couple of the same Type Orbs. So that's really good. And then one huge benefit that they have in Super Battle Road is the fact that when you get to turn 4, you get access to their active skill, where you just get to do a free amount of damage. And there's a lot of times in Super Battle Road where you can get to the turn where this active skill is usable, and you have an enemy who has a very small amount of health left. Maybe they're even attacking you in slot 1. You can just pop the active skill and get rid of them, and that saves yourself a headache. So both of them still very, very good. They work well together as well, because they share most of the same links and obviously share legendary power. So they are both super strong units to use on the team. If you have one with like more dupes or more link levels, that kind of thing, I would bring one over the other and have them linked up with Gogeta. Even if you don't have Ink Gogeta, I would massively recommend bringing an Ink Gogeta friend for this stage, because he will make it much, much easier. So if you don't have the Ink Gogeta, you can still run the Tech one. Now, the Tech one, he's a little bit outdated now. He does need to super attack first in order to get his defense, and then even when he does, his defense is not crazy high. So without an item active, he definitely will still take a fair bit of damage. But he's a good stand-in for the Int Gogeta. He has a 70% chance to counter super attacks, which is actually slightly better than the Int one, so that can be very useful. And he does nerf the enemy's attack a little bit just by being on rotation, so that does help the other two units on the turn tank slightly better as well. But I do think, like, especially if you have both the LR Super Saiyan 4s, they're probably a little bit more valuable than this guy is nowadays. But he's obviously still another very strong unit that can link up very well with them. So moving on, we have the Nova Shenron. Now this is the older one, the tech one, who has an Easy A. After his Easy A, he became super good for this team, because he gives 3 key and 90% attack and defense to himself, so he's pretty self-sufficient. And then he gives all Shadow Dragon Saga category allies attack and defense 30%, so very solid support buff. He does stack attack a little bit on super as well, so he can do fairly reasonable damage, but he's mainly there for his support. And he's a really good combo because he is a Shadow Dragon. Obviously, if you get him linked up with Omega or Oceanus, you get a couple of their links off, and that little bit of extra support he provides, when you couple that up with something like the STR Omega's attack reducing of the enemy, and then buffing up your defense with Nova, you really do tank like incredibly well, even without having to rely on items. So this Nova Shenron works really well as a 3rd slot floating unit. So then we have the STR Omega. We've obviously talked about him a little bit already. There's not really a huge amount to say about this guy that I haven't said already. If you are not running physical Omega as your leader, you should 100% be running this guy on your team, as long as you've obviously actually fully Easy A'd him, because all enemies attack minus 40% is huge. He does give a buff to full power category allies. There's not a huge amount of them on this team, but that, you know, that can help out a little bit. His overall attack and defense, when you look at his actual stats, is nothing crazy impressive, but I really can't sell enough how much, like, enemies minus 40% attack, just how good that is for Super Battle Road. So I think he is a must run on the team if you have him, if you aren't forced to run physical Omega as your leader. So then we have this GT Spirit Bomb Goku. I thought I'd include him here just because one of the main reasons is, whilst he's not super good, he's a bit outdated at this point, I would say, but he's pretty much designed to be fighting Shadow Dragon enemies. So he does change orbs to rainbow when there is a Shadow Dragon enemy, which obviously every enemy on this stage is. He gets 20% extra attack and 2 extra key per rainbow key sphere obtained. So if he's creating them himself, he's going to be able to get quite a lot of extra attack. He's a nuker in general, so he gets 12% attack and defense per key sphere obtained, and this obviously is where his biggest problem comes in, because even with the rainbow orb changing, if you get unlucky with the way the orb field is laid out and you can't pick up that many orbs, then not only is he not going to do a lot of damage, but he's also not going to have crazy defense. He does raise allies' defense by 30% when he super attacks, but he's not really a unit that you want to be putting in slot 1, especially because of the amount of attacks that are likely to be there. So having him in slot 3 kind of makes that effect from his super kind of useless. He's only buffing his own defense, but he's kind of on this list because I think he would be a good replacement if you're missing some of the units that we've talked about so far and you have to have one other unit, because the rainbow orb changing can benefit the other people on the rotation as well. It helps out the LR Super Saiyan 4s get their 18 key super because they get a load of extra key from rainbow orbs, so he can be useful to support the team in that way. And then the other honourable mention, we have the physical Nova Shenron, the one that came out with Gogeta. I said this at the time, I really think they should have given this guy a different name, because in a lot of instances the Tech Easy A one is better, but depending on how you build your team, this guy can be very good because he's built around being on a team with other super type units. He gives Shadow Dragon Saga super class allies an extra 40% defense, which is really good. And he's good for this stage because he gets 2 extra key and 40% extra attack and defense when there's a Shadow Dragon Saga enemy. So he's kind of almost designed to be used on this stage, but I don't know, to me he doesn't seem as useful as the Tech one, who's just an all-around like good support unit for everyone on the team. Because if you're bringing extreme units like the STR, Omega and Oceanus, this guy's not really doing a huge amount to help them. He does seal, which is good. And he does have built-in chance to perform a crit when you're attacking extreme enemies, which all of these enemies are. So I think he's a good fill-in. Like if you don't have the Tech one, or you don't have the Tech one like Easy Aid, then he might be a good choice. But depending on how many copies you've seen of this guy, I mean, I think I pulled 1 copy of him from Int Gogeta's banner, and then have never pulled another copy, even though he's in the general pool. So he probably is a unit that some people are not going to have, or potentially only have 1 copy of. So I do think if you have the Tech one, especially with dupes, he's going to be very good, because obviously the Easy A stats really help him out as well. But this guy is a decent option. So looking back at the list, you can kind of see what I mean. Like, we've covered the top tier units and a couple of honourable mentions, and other than that you don't have a huge amount of options. Like this physical Pan, who's a support unit, is so old now, she's really bad. This Trunks is pretty useless, same with Majub. This free to play Vegeta I guess could be a decent fill-in, but his defense is really not that great. He is a free to play unit, so even rainbowed, his stats are very low. The World Tournament Super Saiyan Vegeta, obviously not very good either. So, and then same with Shenron, and that's basically all the TURs. We've either talked about them already or they're not very good. Same with full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. We didn't really talk about him very much, but like he just really doesn't have any defense, which for Super Battle Road is obviously something you really want. But if you're bringing a bunch of the other Super Saiyan 4s and you do need to fill a slot on the team, then I guess he could be useful. But yeah, like there's not really anyone else. So Shadow Dragons is a lot more restrictive. I know a lot of people struggled with the OG version of the stage for that very reason, but at least we do have a few more options now, and you are going to be able to bring an Int Gogeta friend who is definitely going to do a lot of the work for you. So there is that option. But let me know what you guys think down below. I don't think I missed anyone really for this video, but let me know if you think we should have talked any more about some of the specific units, and let us know what your team build is going to be down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.